George Washington's farewell address. Friends and citizens. So this is George Washington's address after he leaves the presidency. George Washington was our first president. The period for a new nation of a citizen to administer the executive government of the United States being not far distant, and the time actually arrived when your thoughts must be employed in designating the person who is to be clothed with that important trust. It appears to me proper that I should now apprise you of the resolution I have formed to decline being considered among the number of those out of whom a choice is to be made. So George Washington is letting us know that his presidency is ending and a new president must be chosen. And he's telling the people that he is taking himself out. He does not want to be the president again. He's declining. He's not going to run for president again. While then, every part of our country feels an immediate and particular interest in union, all the parts combined cannot fail to find in the united mass greater strength, greater resource, proportionally greater security from external danger, and a less frequent interruption of their peace by foreign nations. So here he's explaining how every part of the United States is interested in being together, in being united, in a union. And that with that combined mass, they see greater strength, more resources, greater protection against external other dangers outside, and less interruption by other foreign nations, other nations. In contemplating the causes which may disturb our union, it occurs as matter of concern, serious concern, that any ground should have been furnished for characterizing parties by geographic discriminations, northern and southern, Atlantic and western, whence designating men may endeavor to excite a belief that there is real difference of local interests and views. So here he's saying he's thinking about what are some causes that can disrupt this unity, this United States, that can possibly break this United States apart. And he's highlighting the danger of geographic discriminations. Just because you live in one area, the North, the South, the Atlantic or East Coast, the West Coast, that people might start to stir up that there's big differences between those groups. I have already intimated to you the danger of political parties in the state, with particular reference to the founding of them on geographical discriminations. Let me now take a more comprehensive view and warn you in the most solemn manner against baneful effects of the spirit of the party generally. So here he's warning us of the dangers of political parties. Political parties are just groups of people that come together that think very similarly on how the country is run. So today, the two biggest political parties are the Republican Party, characterized by the red color, and the Democratic Party with the blue color. So the blue Democrats, they're described as liberal, and the red Republicans are described as conservative. So here, George Washington is actually warning us that political parties are dangerous, and particularly very much so when they're divided on where you live, the North versus South, the East versus West. And he's just warning us of the dangers of political parties. If, in the opinion of the people, the distribution of modification of the constitutional powers be in any particular wrong, let it be correct by an amendment. So here he's saying, if the powers of the government, the constitutional powers, are wrong in any way, it should be corrected by a new law called an amendment. Promote, then, as any object of primary importance, institutions for the general diffusion of knowledge. As the structure of a government gives force to public opinion, it is essential that public opinion should be enlightened. So he's saying promote. So push forth. We want this. This is an object of great importance, primary importance, that the diffusion of knowledge, the spread of knowledge is important. And this structure of government gives force to public opinion, gives power to the public. So if that is the case, then it's essential or it's very important that the public should be enlightened or educated. If people have the power, then knowledge should be spread. The people should be educated, enlightened. Avoid, likewise, the accumulation of debt, not ungenerously throwing upon posterity the burden which we ourselves ought to bear. So here George Washington warns us against debt, against borrowing money, against owing money to other places, other sources, other countries. Because what this is, it throws the burden onto posterity or future generations, the children. If you borrow the money now, you owe the money eventually. If you don't really pay back that money, if you're still in debt, it passes on to the next generation, and now they have to take on that burden, which is the burden that we should bear because we created this debt. So he's saying avoid debt. If you take on debt, you should take care of it, because if you don't, it passes on to the next generation. Observe good faith and justice towards all nations. Cultivate peace and harmony with all. So good faith, justice, be kind, treat other nations with fairness and justice. Cultivate peace, bring about peace, encourage peace and harmony. The great rule of conduct for us in regard to foreign nations is to have with them as little political connection as possible. So here he is warning us again. The big rule when we're dealing with foreign nations, nations outside of us, other countries, he's saying we should have as little political connection as possible. So he's saying political connection, which means government protection, uh, government connection, laws, things like that. So he's not saying social or cultural, cultural food exchange. He's not saying to have no contact in that, but he's saying the governments should not have good connection. There shouldn't be friends or anything like that with other governments. It is our true policy to steer clear of permanent alliances with any portion of the foreign world. There can be no greater error than to expect or calculate upon real favors from nation to nation. It is an illusion which experience must cure, with just pride ought to discard. So, warning us against permanent alliances, against when you say permanent friendships. Alliances are when if one country is in trouble, the other country will automatically help them. Doesn't really matter the reason, they're going to automatically help them. And it works the other way. So if we are in trouble and we have alliance with someone else, they're going to help us out automatically. Doesn't matter the reason. So that's what a permanent alliance is. And it's permanent, so it doesn't go away. So he's warning us against these things. Don't have these permanent alliances. And he says here, there's no greater than to calculate the real favors. So he's kind of questioning if nations would even back you up when you set this type of permanent alliance. The duty of holding a neutral conduct may be inferred from the obligation which justice and humanity impose on every nation to maintain inviolate the relations of peace and amity towards other nations. So here he's saying the United States should keep neutral, should not take sides when dealing with other nations, with dealing with foreign nations. Don't take sides, remain in the middle. maintain harmony, maintain justice, treat each nation the same, treat them well, do not take sides, keep the peace. So that was George Washington's farewell address. Again, he was our first president. He's at the end of his office, and he gives this kind of farewell goodbye address and gives advice to the future of the nation because, like he said in that first paragraph, he does not want to be president again. So he's giving advice to the whole nation and to the next president that's going to succeed him.